Thanks, Chair. Minister, I have to just reflect on the last contribution because it actually doubles down on a previous contribution from a Sinn Féin reaction to the budget. I just conscious of the fact of the Europe in which we stand. We look at the UK, whose economy is going down the tubes because the British people were asked to eat a flag a couple of years ago in a Brexit referendum. I see Italy have just elected a party with neo-fascist roots because they've been asked to eat a flag. In Hungary, the same thing has happened. In Poland, the same thing has happened. In Austria, the same thing has happened. In France, the same thing has happened. In America, the same thing has happened. And it seems to me the number one response from the main opposition party is to encourage Irish people to eat a flag. And I find that utterly depressing. I look at this budget, and many parts of it are indeed to be welcomed. You cannot look at some of the measures that have been announced this week and not welcome many of them. I look at the education system, and I have campaigned for many years on the issue of school books and on changing the conversation in education from one of money to one of child development. Because, as I constantly say, the interaction between a parent and a school, and between a school leader and a parent, can often be about money. And that is a humiliating relationship if you don't have it. So if we delete those conversations by inserting the state, which I think Fine Gael have finally come to the conclusion that might be a good thing, you unleash and you empower, you unleash the potential of that relationship to be built on something other than money. And so the free school books at primary level announcement is welcome. However, we should always go further. We should do it at second level. We should ban voluntary contributions. We should talk about all those things in the education system that are a barrier of that conversation between the child's parents and the school, because the principal doesn't want to be a fundraiser. And you'll know, Minister, there's so many parents' associations become effective fundraisers. On the capitation announcement, there wasn't really a capitation announcement. This is where the structural versus the once-off comes into clear focus, because there was a €100 million announcement as to how schools are going to get over the winter. But that isn't a structural announcement. And I want to see more detail on that, because inevitably when a school can't meet its electricity bills or its energy bills, and 1/3 of the cost of running a school is actually energy, that's going to fall back on the fundraising capacity of a school. And again, parents are going to be asked to put their hands in their pockets. So I want to see more movement on that. We are concerned about the fact that a lot of this is, as my party leader, Aodhán Ó Ríordáin, has said, it's a treadmill budget. It'll see us over the next couple of months, but we absolutely could be back here in the new year, talking again about those structural issues that have not yet been addressed by this government. You made an announcement on free GP care last year. It hasn't been introduced yet for children of a certain age group. You made announcements on pandemic payments to certain healthcare workers that haven't been delivered on yet either. There are people in the Construction Defects Alliance who are deeply concerned about the inability of that 80 million that you are suggesting is going to be paid by the levy on concrete blocks. Is that going to be able to fund the retrospective construction issues that are going to have to be addressed over the coming period? And certainly in the area of housing, we absolutely could have a more visionary approach in terms of giving people certainty around rent by having a rent freeze, around evictions by having an absolute eviction ban. In the area of small business, as enterprise spokesperson of the Labour Party, we are very concerned about the lack of understanding or preparedness of government for a jobs crisis over the course of the winter. That we could have many people on reduced hours or indeed losing their jobs because of the nature of the crisis that small businesses are facing. And while, yes, you've made announcements, I don't think they go far enough, and I certainly don't think supporting businesses is going to be enough. You need to support jobs. What you did during the COVID crisis is the basis for which you should approach this. It has to be investment on programs and schemes that are going to support businesses to keep jobs. and to focus it on the worker. I was actually taken by Minister Donoghue's last few words when he spoke about families and businesses. But it's not just families and businesses that need to survive, it's the worker as well. And to ensure that that worker still has a job to go to in January, when, as I say, we could very much still be back here in the new year. On childcare, again, these moves are welcome, because we have been talking about childcare for quite a number of years, and Minister O'Gorman is to be congratulated because he has stuck with this and he has made the difference in this budget. But again, we believe at the cost of 275 million, we could have a further intervention for families and have a cap on their fees of €200, because again, we stand apart in the European context and the fact that our childcare fees are the highest in Europe. And again, we pay for school books when other European countries don't, and they don't in the north, and we pay for GP visits when nobody in the north of the UK does. So my final comment will refer back to my initial comments. And again, you know, I'm proud to be here as a representative of the people of Dublin A North to interact with government on the basis of this budget. But I see what's happening across Europe, and I see what the main motivation of opposition speakers from Sinn Féin is this week, and it worries me. Because we, for 100 years and more, have convinced people that if they could just eat a flag, it would make all of us much better. And there has to be a different way from that. The state has to be bigger, it has to be on people's side, it has to support people and empower people. But you can't eat a flag because it's not going to nourish you or make you happy. And I think our budget debate needs to be much more profound than that.
Deputy Aodhán Ó Ríordáin.